Washington Director of Democrats.com, and is a board member of the Progressive Democrats for America. He has served as the press secretary for Dennis Kucinich, and he has been a leading voice for the prosecution of Bush and Cheney for their war crimes. Please give a warm welcome to David Swanson.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful that you all are here. I'm always curious how people got here. Raise your hand if you found out about this from KBOO. How about KPOJ? How about Powell's? What about from Barbara Ellis?
Yeah.
What am I missing? Anything? else?
United Progressives.
Okay, United Progressives. Nobody. Facebook. Good to know. It's wonderful to be at a unionized bookstore with Longshore and warehouse workers setting up the chairs. It's a beautiful thing. And I have to thank Barbara Ellis for all of her help in everything over the years and bringing me here, as well as David Rovics. And it was wonderful to see Tom Hartman today, and Linda Weiner, who's here, and Joe Walsh, and Joe Anybody, and this is a rich community for activism, even from the viewpoint of somebody who lives thousands of miles away. My book takes a particular perspective on the incredible failures of our national government, which, as no one here needs to be reminded, is corrupted by a lot of forces and rarely supports the view of the majority of Americans. It's corrupted, obviously, by media, by money, by parties, by elections that are not verifiable, and so forth. And so it's a difficult case to make to some people that it matters where in this almost completely corrupt government the power lies. You know, why should we take the power away from the presidency and give it to the Congress when the Congress is completely useless and won't do anything good with it? And you know, the answer to that, I think, is that not everything is accomplished with one step. Not everything can be achieved immediately and easily. If we are going to have any chance in the future of ever controlling our government in Washington, it's going to come first through the House of Representatives. It is far, far easier, impossible and crazy as it might sound, to influence the House of Representatives than it is to influence the Senate, or the President, or the Federal Reserve, or the Supreme Court. It is much, much easier to go after the House of Representatives, and that's true now with everything as corrupted as it is. It's true next week if the Supreme Court makes it worse in the Citizens United case. It's true in the coming months and years if we accomplish some of the reforms we want to accomplish in terms of those corrupting factors. So it matters where the power is, and right now it's where John Yoo wants it. John Yoo has a book out too, in which he concludes with words of praise for the current president, following through on the abuses of power of the previous president. And for once, I think the only time I can recall I am in agreement with John Yoo, except that I don't praise it. I denounce it as incredibly dangerous and misguided. But we have presidents now with the power to spy on you without a warrant, to lock you up without charges, without process, to send you to another country to be tortured, to torture you, to launch wars, to launch military strikes, to escalate wars without asking anyone's permission, to make treaties without the Senate, to make appointments without the Senate, to spend money without the Congress, to spend money in secret, to operate in secret, to make laws with signing statements and executive orders and secret memos and telling Congress what laws to make, and simply to violate laws with immunity, and to grant people not just pardons but retroactive immunity without telling us who or why or for what. And these are powers that Bush and Cheney drastically expanded upon in their co-presidency. The trend of moving power to the White House began with George Washington. It's not new, and it's been cumulative, and presidents have not tended to give back the powers accumulated by their predecessors. But it took an incredible leap forward with Bush and Cheney. And the new Congress and the new president could have come in and said, we're not going to accept that. We're going to undo that. It would have been absolutely shocking. I think it would have violated some laws of physics for the new president to give back powers. You know, nobody becomes the president of the United States who is not power mad. Nobody puts themselves through that, what it takes to become president. But what's unique in our age is that Congress has no interest in power. Congress doesn't want it. Here, Mr. Emperor, take it. It's yours. We don't want to vote on wars. Somebody's going to be offended either way we vote. You deal with wars. And Congress no longer has any sense of loyalty to Congress, because their loyalty is all to one or the other of the two branches of our government, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And at any given time, roughly half of Congress is loyal to the guy who was supposed to execute the will of Congress, the president, because he's the leader of their party. How many of you have heard of a guy by the name of Bybee? This is my room. I spoke last night in Seattle, a block away from a courthouse where Judge Bybee sometimes sits. And about 2% of the people in the room, and it was a bigger room than this, had ever heard of Mr. Bybee. Mr. Walsh has a $4,000 reward out for Mr. Bybee. For those of you who don't know exactly who he is, Bybee, B-Y-B-E-E, Bybee, impeachbybee.org to learn more, was the head of the Office of Legal Counsel in the Justice Department, who was asked by the CIA and by Alberto Rosales as counsel for the president and others to commit the most serious crimes imaginable, and who wanted to be a judge. And he made a deal. He said, I'll do it if you make me a judge. And he did it, and they made him a judge. And he has a lifetime seat on the Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit in Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and Los Angeles. And he famously signed memos legalizing torture, personalized custom torture laws, how you can torture this guy, how you can torture that guy. And that should be a footnote in what he did, because he signed memos that were treated as laws in secret that legalized aggressive war at the whim of any future president. This is the supreme crime. This is mass murder. Legally, this is mass murder. His name is at the bottom of these memos that are no longer secret. And he is sitting there as a judge for life, overturning the rulings of decent judges in our system, because no one wants to go after him. Last spring, when these memos came out, Senator Patrick Leahy asked Mr. Bybee if he would come in and talk. And Mr. Bybee said he wasn't inclined, and Senator Leahy said, I'm sorry I bothered you. And that was it.